It's kind of a bummer, though. I got to crane my neck if I want to have a look at Will.
Well, yeah, so that's one of the issues with our new thing.
If I could get a monitor, could you just put Will's face on this
we
TV?
could do that. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's actually not a bad idea at all. It's a difficult thing to set up the angles and such to try to mimic an actual conversation.
Yeah.
Like this camera that you're looking at over here, it moved from last episode to this episode because I was like, man, stuff is off.
Yeah.
And then even the couch, I cranked it more because I was like, man, we got to have the right this.
And you used to shoot on the other axis, right?
The other axis. It's out of control, man, and there's no right or wrong. I mean, there are some typical rights and some typical wrongs, but you figure it out as you do it, and you fail in public.
So don't think I don't know what's going on with this music.
What's that?
This is selected just for me.
Oh, there you go. All right, you've done some research. That's how the show works.
I feel like I can Logic about to spit some bars.
This is
on
good.
This.
Actually, I like this.
Nice.
I think it's a great selection regardless. But Will, you were inspired by Jesse's channel. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
If you could just keep that rolling in our headphones, it doesn't need to be in the recording.
It was a whole entire mood right there.
It's nice.
Yes.
And
abrupt ending.
That was an interesting cut.
Yeah. I think the track was done.
Will's like, enough of that. I mean, I was expecting more of a fate, but hey,
that's okay.
It's the way it goes sometimes.
I mean, maybe that is actually a good articulation of my work.
Oh, the cuts, the edits.
I don't do a whole lot of fade to blacks or slow rollouts.
Interesting. And so it just happened.
No, Will's a genius.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I already knew that.
You know what? Genius is the stuff that just happens, though. You ever have moments like that where maybe you're putting together a video and this happens to me a lot. I don't know if you relate. Am I calling myself a genius? We'll see. No, where you put something in a video and somebody like, oh, I loved the way, that shirt you were wearing or that light color you changed. It worked perfectly. I'll be like, I didn't do that on purpose.
You're talking about Bob Ross right now. You're talking about happy accident.
Yeah, it's a happy accident. But it's more than an accident, right? Maybe it's subconscious, maybe who knows what it is, but
there are no accidents.
I mean,
I don't know. We got there quickly. This is Jesse Driftwood.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We're rolling.
Is that your real name?
It's not my real name.
Okay, because it's kind of too good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, my
you don't have to say your real name.
Doesn't matter.
Way.
In fact, it was never an intentional decision to like keep my identity off of the internet. In retrospect, it was a good idea because it just gives me a little bit more privacy. But I actually ran a business with another friend of mine. It was called Driftwood. It was a filmmaking business. And all of our friends who were in bands, their online names was like their first name and then the band. So, you'd be like, I'm Lou Motorhead or I'm whatever, that kind of thing. So we had just put our names as Jesse Driftwood and Zach Driftwood. So I actually had that as like my online name before I had ever even considered pursuing social media or anything like that as a career path.
Pursuing social media?
Yeah.
Is that a thing you can pursue?
It's always pursuing us, isn't it? It's weird. I mean, I feel like a conversation I was having recently is I have a lot of friends who are fully backing out of social media. They're like, I don't like what it's doing to me. I don't like how I'm thinking. I'm always comparing, like, especially as you have kids. I don't want to go to the pumpkin patch just to take a photo of the pumpkin patch. And I've never related because I've never felt the pressure to put my regular life on social media. Any time that I've put something on social media, for me, it's always felt more like a creative venture. And so I was doing that on, let's say, Instagram or whatever. But it was a cognitive decision to pursue it and do it more frequently with more quality as an attempt to see what I could do with it. So it in that regard, it was not a happy accident. It was somewhat intentional.
So you're not documenting yourself?
I am. I mean, so a bit of history. I had that filmmaking business and I didn't want to do it. I was shooting a lot of weddings by the end of it, primarily weddings by the end of it. And I was just so bored of it. It was just the same thing over and over. Shooting weddings, a lot of fun. You just get to hang out with people who are happy. Editing weddings, not so fun. Particularly because I want every project to be the greatest edit I've ever done. And not every wedding is the greatest wedding you've ever shot. And so I needed an avenue in order to like enjoy my camera again and have fun with it. So I started making Instagram stories that were shot, edited on my, like shot on a camera, edited on Final Cut, brought to my phone, uploaded, that kind of thing. But it was still just about having fun. And it mostly was myself because I was by myself editing.
Right. Yeah, it's like a consequence of availability. It's like, I am the subject.
Because I am here.
Yeah, and it's the whole historical, I mean, YouTube specifically, it sounds like you started on Instagram, but YouTube specifically, YouTube, you have a camera, you have yourself.
Yeah.
And it obviously spawned so many different versions of how people choose to display themselves. And so many of us found ways of integrating our interests, but around certain niches that aren't necessarily comprehensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, like, I do love filmmaking. I do love photography. And it's the part of me that's online more than others, but it is not a comprehensive list of the things that I'm interested in by any means. In fact, even though some of my closest friends are in the same world and a lot of creators that I'm close with, like the Peters and the Maddies and all them of the world, I don't really watch their videos. I don't really watch the videos that I'm making.
Are you watching a lot of video in general?
Yes and no. I don't watch a whole lot of YouTube anymore. I do watch a lot of TikTok. When I say a lot, it's like I'll sit down and be like, I'll be here for an hour. Like I'll plan, this is, instead of watching a movie, I'm going to watch TikTok for an hour. I have so many thoughts about TikTok. I find it fascinating, terrifying, beautiful. It's everything all the time. It's all at once. But what I loved about filmmaking, let's say, was that it felt like this like empathy machine. What's so cool about a film is that you can see the story of someone who's not someone who's not like you, and you can learn to empathize with them, and you can, kind of get a feel for that world. And I think that's really powerful. TikTok has the potential, and depending on where you exist on the, in the algorithm, to do that at a level that is so unheard of before this. And I think that is absolutely fascinating. I also appreciate that, at least like when I go on TikTok, I don't really see creators. I see mostly regular people, like people that this is not their job. They're not really monetizing it. And that's the stuff I love. I love seeing random farmers posting a video of like, this is what it's like herding my sheep. Herding, not herding. Just attacking his sheep.
I mean, I love it. I mean, that could be on TikTok too.
It probably is. And that's the dark side of TikTok that we'll get to.
Yeah.
But what I just find it so interesting that a generation of children, and I'm also worried about this, are growing up getting to see what life is like for so many people that are unlike them in a way that no generation has ever had access to. You get to see people of different nationalities, different religions, different everything, and a little bit go, you're kind of like me. You're more like me than I thought you were. We kind of joke about the same things, and sure, maybe you dress different or look different, but there's something
This is
so
the optimistic viewpoint of the internet, which is that people, these connections that are being made help us to relate to one another. The flip side of that is
you hurt sheep.
Well, or that it offers an opportunity and an interface to also hate one another.
Yes, absolutely.
Which you can find pretty easily as well.
I mean, I don't know if it's just as much. I haven't done the numbers, but it's there. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, there's some social media maybe more than other places, and I'm sure that there's some sort of positivity algorithm at play. I've been talking on this show a lot about surveys and sentiment as opposed to your typical analytics, which is just like, well, if somebody watched something, it is therefore good.
Then
views equal good. But then it's like, I mean, you can even catch yourself at times viewing something that you're not necessarily proud of. You're just like,
I've hate-watched videos.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so there's a really, we're probably going to see some, thank you, Mo, by the way. We just got coffee delivery. We got to shout out Mo. This is unbelievable stuff.
Thank you.
This is quite a hot coffee, and it's,
I've got some drippies on top.
I feel like I just need a sip right away. Thank you, Mo.
Get right into it.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's like everything that's good. It's like everything.
Ow.
Pros and cons. I don't know. I would say your take on TikTok is unusual compared to everybody who's been here. There's a real, there's been a lot of representation on the side of the attention span stuff.
It's a real concern.
And I suppose also maybe the lack of agency or selection, right? The internet transitioning from a mostly selection-based place, even if you think about the subscription model, let's say on YouTube or pre-algorithm Netflix, that must have been a thing. I used to get discs delivered to me.
I mean, TikTok is very unique in that regard, where the decision-making is removed from it. And I know at probably a not super healthy level for me, I love that because I get decision fatigue. I was the guy at Blockbuster that was like, I'm not picking a movie till I've looked at every single movie in every single aisle. And my friends hated me for it. I'm the same way on Netflix. If I were to go to Netflix and I don't know already what I'm going to watch, it would take me forever.
How do you feel, though, that decision fatigue, how does that enter into your productive life? Does it affect it in the same way, or is it only ever reflected in consumption?
Well, I mean, we were talking before we started rolling about how I think editing video might be my least favorite thing to do in the world. Part of that is probably decision fatigue. Part of that is when I'm making a video, the style of videos I make aren't always super focused.
Let me just pause you for a minute. For anybody who's unfamiliar with your channel, do you want to describe your channel and the type of stuff? Or, you know what, just explain what you do on the internet.
Sure, yeah. Like when people ask me what I do, I don't say YouTuber. I'm not embarrassed to say YouTuber. I just say I make internet videos. Sometimes that's Instagram, sometimes that's YouTube, sometimes it's TikTok, and sometimes it's for other brands, social media, stuff like that. I make internet videos, and I don't know if YouTube is where I'm going to be for the long haul or anything like that necessarily, but I stopped pursuing life as a filmmaker several years ago because I realized that actually wasn't my skill set. Narrative filmmaking isn't my particular skill set, and whatever my skill set is does seem to fit better in the world of online video. So I make some tutorials online specifically around types of video making that I've gotten good at in the process of making these internet videos. And I definitely fit in that filmmaking video niche online. But you know, I made a video about a laser hair helmet recently just because, I mean, I'm getting older, started losing my hair, and I thought, why not? Why not?
What did you discover there?
It didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it didn't do anything.
Right.
Which is fine because the process of losing my hair, while is interesting, it hasn't been a terribly destabilizing experience for me. If
you're
anything,
wearing it, you're owning it,
it is what it is.
Oh, I love that.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm on the same page.
And if anything, also, I mean, we're getting a little off track here. Having a shaved head just makes life easier. You don't think about good hair days, bad hair days.
A lot of people don't believe me. I've been shaving my head prior to losing hair. When I was a kid, I always loved having extremely short hair. So it eased into it. There was nothing to lose.
Yeah. So my internet videos, sometimes it's I might do a product review. Sometimes I don't really go into, especially on YouTube, I don't really vlog. Mostly because I don't like when other people around me are vlogging.
Ooh.
And it's not a shot at anyone else. I get it. It's work. Whatever. Let's do it.
What constitutes vlogging around you?
That's a good question.
Like, when does something cross over into vlog and away from
the experience
video?
that I don't like is when I don't know we're doing an on-camera thing, and suddenly someone's got the camera out, and it's like, now we're documenting this.
How would you describe that experience? Violation?
You could.
Lack of
you
privacy?
Could call it that.
It is a weird one, though, isn't it?
It's a weird one.
That in this community, it seems acceptable.
It's also weird that I'm uncomfortable.
Maybe less so now, but man, I've been in this long enough. You would go to some event or something, and everybody is a camera.
Yeah.
They just are a camera.
Yeah.
Capturing who knows where it's going to end up or what it's going to be from what angle. Never mind, you had a few drinks. You're just not policing the thing.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's nice to know when you're on and when you're off. And it's not even that being on camera necessarily means you need to be a personality. You just have to, you probably filter yourself a little bit more. You're probably a little bit more thoughtful about the words you're saying, or a little bit more careful about the words you're saying, because there's this idea that it's what you say now could have consequences later. And this isn't about saying anything controversial. It's just, you're just a little bit more aware. You're a little bit more self-aware, but I don't mean that in a good way. I don't mean in like, I have self-awareness. It's more like, I'm thinking about myself too much right now.
Well, you're being watched, you're being observed, you're being recorded. I mean, we may feel that way because we're 1,000 years old.
We might.
Like, it's possible that future generations behave in the alternative fashion, the one you just mentioned, which is that I'm always being observed, or I'm going to act as if maybe the surveillance will become comforting.
There may be a benefit to it.
Like, what about like a Twitch stream and it's in the person's room and it's 10 hours later?
Yeah.
Like, that's some willingness to be surveilled.
It's just, and no judgment on like people who do like extensive live streaming like that. It's just, it's not a world that I feel comfortable in. And so when someone starts vlogging around me, it sometimes feels a little bit like this doesn't happen often, but it feels a little bit like I'm being forced into that world that I mostly choose not to be a part of against my will. And it's not going to look good if you pull out a camera like, stop, don't do that right now. But also,
this is where the actual you crosses over with the product you.
Yeah.
Where you're wanting to be the actual you more frequently because truthfully, that's a much better person to be.
Thank you. Me right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I saw you on video. Not so good.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm talking from personal experience that the product version of yourself is I mean, it's weird and difficult maintenance and complex. And again, I've talked about that with many people here, but it's just extra bandwidth.
Yeah, it's more to think about.
So, but it's an interesting topic right now, the idea of surveillance, because we are starting to see the wearable content creation devices start to hit the market, like the Facebook glasses that just came out. And I mean, even before that, I guess you had what did Snap have? This
the spectacles, Google Glass.
Google Glass brought up some of the subject that we're talking about right now.
Well, it's interesting. Google Glass started and they went, you know what? This might be too soon. At least that's what I heard of the project, is they were like, we might be crossing into territory that we don't want to enter right now.
Well, you had, private businesses and restaurants and things that were taking a hard stance against it because patrons didn't like the idea of being surveilled.
Right.
And so it gave a little bit of a taste to the resistance of such things. But in the same light as what you were mentioning regarding TikTok and how low the barrier to entry is for content creation, what that does is it sort of conditions or normalizes the idea of pointing cameras.
Yeah.
And having cameras pointed. And so the thinking, or at least the potential there, is that everybody becomes more comfortable with the ideas in general.
And who knows what's on the other side of that, though? That's a very big picture question of, what does 3 generations look like from now if we don't stop? And I don't even know if I'm all that, I wouldn't say I'm not all that concerned. I'm just not all that interested in spending a lot of time thinking about what it does to like the whole human race. Like I can barely think about what it does to me, and I've got to think about what it does to my kids, and that's about as big as my scope is right now.
Right. Well, it's very practical.
Yeah.
It's very practical, but one thing that having kids does is it does at least expand the scope. It puts like another, I don't know, it puts another 78 years on your lifespan, right? Given the average. So now you're worried about a couple of lifespans, and so you get curious about it. But also my curiosity when it comes to kids is yours are not as old as mine. They look for advice. They want something they can apply. It can't strictly be philosophical. I mean, you can try, but
they'll get distracted.
What should I do? How long should I be on TikTok? What's the healthy amount? Like these are No one has any clue.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the answer to these things. They're like, give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. It seems a little bit irresponsible, but I don't know that there's any better program for managing such things.
And also, you mentioned like the opinion I gave on TikTok's a little bit different. Part of it is that I'm an optimist, and it's not a stance I've necessarily chosen. It is my default mode is I think things are getting better, and I understand, and I'm not ignoring the problems and the potential for problem here. I just really do think things are getting better, and there's great potential for things to get even better. And I see, at least in my circles, I see more of the conversation happening around its detriments. And so sometimes I just like to play devil's advocate. And I just want to say, hey, it's not all doom and gloom.
Oh, yeah. Very few things are all bad.
Yeah, very few things are all bad. Some things are all bad.
Sure, but there is a simple way in which people want to discuss things. They always want to find the polar parts of it. And so that does contribute to the oversimplification of the conversation, which you just can't do. We don't know how all these things play into the whole fabric and greater picture. So I understand where you're coming from with the overwhelming nature of being like, but what's going to happen? But somebody makes the decisions.
Yeah,
that's the other part too. So there is those tweaks and things I wonder about. I can't partially because I post on these platforms, so I can't help but wonder what's under the hood. This is just the equivalent of me like lifting the lid and imagining which decisions are being made now, going to continue to be made. I mean, strictly from personal interest. If I want to continue doing this, then that's always been a part of the process, is investigating, putting the microscope on the platform to a certain extent, being able to predict skate where the puck is going type of thing.
What's interesting for me is because I started my career doing these videos on Instagram. I was making them in Instagram stories. So I actually built an audience there first. And Instagram stories was never algorithmically based. It was, if someone followed you, they'll see the most recent ones at the top. And there was no thumbnail, there was no title, there was no real paying attention to click-through rates or anything like that. And I loved that. There was almost no possibilities to monetize it. On occasion, I could do a sponsored post on my feed. On occasion, I could do a sponsored edited Instagram story or make stories for another brand. But I kind of knew all along, if I actually wanted to make a career out of this that was sustainable, I had to go over to YouTube, because brands understand YouTube. They understand the value of it, the longevity of it, all that kind of stuff. But now that I've switched over, and it's been a few years now, that came with having to care about all those things, having to care about the nitty gritty parts. And it's like, I have to reevaluate. It's like, is that what I wanted to do? Or is what I liked so much about internet video, do I like it enough to weigh it against the parts of the job I don't like, which is caring about the nitty gritty of performance, of algorithms, of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, every job has something in it you're not going to like.
Yep.
That's why the jobs that you love the most. Yeah, that's how jobs go.
This episode is brought to you by Me Undies.
I'm wearing these undies right now. I pull them out. I pull them out of the drawer every single day.
Oh.
I have an entire stack of these things. And let me tell you something, Will. When I try to find something I like, if I find something I like, I replace everything I have with that thing that I like. Especially when it comes to clothing items, but just in general.
Yes.
Undies, it's a competitive thing out there. Everybody's trying to sell you undies. They're trying to get into your pants, aren't they?
All the time.
Into and under. I wear the boxer brief. I have a few different varieties, like some of the more athletic types. Most of them without the crazy flashy patterns, but you got to do what you got to do. The main thing I like is the micro modal. This is this crazy soft material. And I can also speak to the durability. These things they're hanging in there, man.
Are they?
Yeah, I had them for a bit now.
Right on.
The other thing you can do, if you can't even be bothered to stay fresh with the undergarments, is you could do the membership subscription. You just got the fresh undies come in. Can't you do that? Am I crazy? You can do that. So I say get started. Get your act together and upgrade.
Whether you're outrunning a killer or being abducted by aliens this Halloween, be comforted by the fact that your undies are sustainable and the softest in town. MeUndies are made from natural fibers sourced from beechwood trees, making their micromodal fabric soft, breathable, and dangerously cozy. Get your spooky season up and haunting with 5 new prints: I See You, My Boo, Tricks and Treats, Lazy Bones, and Lazy Pumpkin. Available in undies, bralettes, socks, and loungewear in sizes extra small through 4XL. There are a lot of options to consider, but make a decision quickly because there's somebody right behind you. Whoa. And to our listeners, for any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off and free shipping. MeUndies also has a promise. If you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, you can return your order for full refund within 45 days. To get 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/LouLater. That's MeUndies.com/LouLater.
Yep. So you've been doing this for a bit? How long you been doing it? How long you been an online personality?
2017 was the year that I was like, I'll do online now. I'll do internet now. So it's 4 years.
Did you have a prototype? Were there channels that you were looking at where you were like, I can do what this guy?
Well, so you can see, I mean, I've got these like 5 years ago, there's these like family vlogs. What's funny about that is those are videos I actually made for my Facebook account. So they weren't even posted on YouTube for a long time. My wife and I, we had traveled to Singapore a couple times. Her family was living out there. And that was when my daughter was first born. And so I just made these little family videos that were functionally vlogs. There was not really a whole lot of music. They were just kind of fast edit stuff. And I liked progressing them, but they were just posted on Facebook. And at that period of time, and before that, I was watching Casey Neistat vlogs.
Sure.
And even while we were in Singapore, we'd be there for a few weeks, I'd still have to be editing my weddings. And I remember one day my wife looked at me, she was like, you know, you could do that. She's like, you don't do the Casey thing. But she's like, you could do whatever your version of that is. And I'd never really considered it. So I decided I would throw those Facebook videos onto YouTube. I mean, this one's got 1.7 million views.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that was surprising.
So you got a positive push from your wife.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
did. But she knew I was unhappy at that point in wedding filmmaking. Because she knew that I just clearly hated editing it.
Would you take a lot of crap from people with the wedding stuff as far as not meeting because these people, they can have very high expectations as well.
Yes and no. So what we did do is we always provided really high quality stuff. Like, I'm still proud of a lot of the videos we made. What I did a horrible job of was running a business and getting videos in a timely fashion that they liked. I've never been good with deadlines. And that was my first experience running my own business, where I didn't really have a deadline. I technically could make that video. They didn't have anything in our contract that said when they would get to have it by.
What's the problem with the deadline? What is it? Is it that you want to make it better, so you want to keep working on it, or is it that you're procrastinating in general? You're like, I'll get to that later.
Part of it is like I'm diagnosed with ADHD, which is fun, but that was an adult diagnosis. But when I did discover that, it helped me understand so much of my early childhood years, because same thing, homework, school projects, all of that. There's never been a thing that, not never, basically never. There's rarely been things in my life that were finished without a deadline. And so I need deadlines, but self-imposed deadlines do not have the same weight on my, I'll say ability to get those things done. Yeah.
It's interesting how many different personality types have made social media work.
Yeah.
Have found a way to integrate whatever, because everybody has their stuff.
Yep.
Everybody's carrying their stuff around and whatever perceived limitations they have, but have found each other through this ability to at least do this thing or do enough of this thing.
Yeah, it's what I love about internet video, though, is I do get control. I do get to choose the things that I'm doing. It's a blessing and a curse, but impulsivity for me is both my favorite part of me and what I get to do online. And it's also one of the more destructive parts of my personality. Because impulsivity is the reason I don't sleep well. You know, if someone says, hey, do you want to go out for a movie? Do you want to have a coffee at 9 p.m.? I like to say yes, let's do those things. And part of that is what made my video career quite successful is these videos are fun and I'm able to follow impulses, instincts, and make a video in the moment that just feels like the right video to make. And it's surprising how often I'm right, creatively speaking, and how often I'm wrong, personally speaking.
Do you have an example of a time, significant moment, where you said yes but should have said no?
I've definitely done it with brand deals.
You don't have to name any specifics.
Yeah, I've done it with brand deals online. And usually it's not that it was a product or something like that that I actually hated. It's more that I'll take on more work than I'm actually capable to do.
So not regret.
Not regret, just not wise.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just think that sometimes it's like there's landmines, you know? That's the way that I reference it.
Do you have an example of that for you? Or?
Oh, my God.
All right, hit me with one.
Landmines?
Yeah, hit me with a landmine.
I mean, for sure, I can't put specifics as well, but like, I mean, sometimes you would associate with a brand and kind of loosely. Not even endorsed, not even a sponsorship.
Right.
But just something was sent to you and you thought it was interesting or cool, or Will tells you it's interesting or cool, and you're doing so much crap and nobody even sees any of my personal life, which is like after we're done talking, it's chaos, man.
Yeah.
It is absolute chaos. So sometimes I run in and I run out and we shoot and that's the way it goes. And then it's like, oh man, you should have done the research and this and that and you screwed up. This thing's a scam or this is a whatever
like a Kickstarter product or something like that. Maybe it is really interesting. Maybe you do have a prototype.
But I can very, very easily say that would be an example of a time where you should have paused for a minute. You should have, like, nobody's wrong about it. It's just that in the flow and the crazy churn of it all, you didn't.
Yeah.
You just went with it. And so, man, I got dozens of examples that don't really need to be identified specifically, but there's something about sharing so much. I think I've posted close to 2,000 videos. You know, there's something about, and it doesn't even matter if you have a like strict protocol for how you make them. It's just actually generating that much content, that many hours of yourself doing anything that eventually you're going to step on the wrong patch of grass. And so that's something that I got comfortable with. I mean, it's not like it bothers me all that much. I just assume it's going to happen from time to time, at least in my realm. But my realm's different than your realm. I'm curious, actually, what a day looks like for you, a typical day. Actually, let's say it's a Tuesday.
Okay.
What happens on a Tuesday?
Lou, you've caught me at a good time.
Oh!
Yeah, I both crave and reject structure. So I flourish under healthy routines, things like that. They help me feel oriented. They help me understand what my days look like, things like that. So when I get home from a vacation, as an example, it takes me longer than the vacation to feel like I'm back home again. However, once I get into a routine, I very quickly, I go, is this what I want? Is this my life forever now? And so, you know, consciously or subconsciously, maybe I'll blow the whole thing up. Right now, I'm in such a good routine. I'm so happy about it right now. I'm doing a little like a sober October, and I've 2 weeks in a row, I wake up at 6:20 every single day, and I'm actually falling asleep at night, and I've just hired on a part-time producer, which has been so helpful. So things feel really good right now. So a Tuesday for me, I have an alarm at 4:45 that goes off.
Whoa.
I don't like this one. I have to take medication, and then I try and go back to sleep for 90 minutes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, because otherwise I don't sleep at night.
4:45? How do you pick that number?
I don't know. It was 90 minutes before when I want to wake up, which was like 6:30. That's not even right, is it? It's a little more than, oh yeah, okay, I'm waking up at like 6:20, so it's 95 minutes.
Okay.
I assume the time it takes to fall back asleep.
Got
Get one more sleep cycle in.
Interesting.
Wake up at 6:20, something like that. My daughter, she's always awake. I don't know what, she doesn't sleep. She just wakes up in the morning and she'll go downstairs, make herself breakfast, that kind of thing. I've been doing a lot of VR exercising lately, which is interesting. So where I used to in the summer, things like that, I do a lot of my running early in the morning or late at night post kids go to sleep. Now my daughter's in school. She started the first grade this year. So even if I try to take a run at 5:30 a.m., I'm not really going to be around for when she goes to school. I'll go run for an hour, hour and a half. You come home, you get a shower, you're disgusting, right? So it hasn't been practical. So lately, I wake up and I do a VR exercise, and it's awesome. It is so fun.
Is there a specific game or app? Or...
I've been using this thing called Supernatural. It's basically, have you ever played Beat Saber?
Yes.
It's basically Beat Saber with triangles you squat under and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. A variety of, I mean, Beat Saber can be a workout on
absolutely.
its own.
So it's that just kind of turned up, and then there's like a coach kind of like talking alongside.
Which VR headset are you using for this?
The Oculus Quest 2.
Of course.
Yeah, just the everyman's VR.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, even around here, we've had such a variety of hardware sent to us.
There you have it.
And yet, this headset is always one of the favorites. Wireless, simple.
It's all in one. You don't need a gaming PC or anything like that. It does seem like not even just the first. It might be the only really approachable VR headset.
Now, I mean, from the outside, people watching, is anyone watching you do this? Is this a thing? Like, I don't know what your space looks like.
It's just in my living room.
It's just you're in your living room, so somebody's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you're flailing around with the headset on.
I throw a blanket over my, the front window so that no one outside can see me. I'm not proud of it. I wish I was at the gym.
I don't think you... I don't think you need to not be proud of it. I'm just curious about the reaction of others around. Are they fully on board? Are they like, well, he's doing his thing?
I mean, my wife knows me well enough to know that I do weird things and I pick up weird hobbies and I drop them. And I've been doing this as long as she's known me. So she sees me doing a thing like this or wearing a laser hair helmet or something stupid. And she's like, yep, that makes sense.
Right.
But it's not a character judgment, right?
I think the thing about VR that's strange for me is the actual physical space that it occupies. Like we've had some of the earlier VR headsets that would have these little
the cameras
trackers.
And stuff.
What were they called though? They were like little tripod
IR trackers.
I know, but they had a name. But they create a fence.
Yeah.
And so we would be arranging these types of rooms. And I started to think in the future, if everybody's doing VR, let's say, if it truly takes off, it changes how
homes are built.
How homes are built or how rooms are laid out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're not going to be pushing the couch every time.
Yep.
And you need quite a bit of space.
That's actually why I don't think VR is going to take over super quickly. It's too space prohibitive. And even though the Quest 2, it's $300 or something like that, and it's all in one, and maybe you spend $40, $50 on a game, and now you can do it, it's still, you do kind of have to move furniture around. You do need at least 6 feet by 6 feet. Not a lot of people lay out their houses to just have open spaces. So I have to take my coffee table out, and that's about it.
Have you ever injured yourself in VR?
No.
Oof.
I've never thrown a remote and smashed a TV.
My kids have played the boxing game and put the fist square into the wall. Just didn't set up the fence correctly. And I wonder what some of the most brutal VR injuries have been.
You think anyone's ever died in VR? You could really fall down the stairs. Who knows? I wouldn't tell the doctor.
There's enough people that I guarantee you someone has died in VR.
So sad. What a sad way to go.
Imagine being discovered that way.
Just with the headset on.
The game is still playing. Oh, that was too quick.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a man dies in VR accident. Of course. It's crazy. I mean, your senses are completely shut down.
Yeah.
They're shut off.
Yeah.
And what did he do? He fell through a glass table. Is your coffee table glass?
No, no, it's not. We're good. Damn. I don't know that anyone should have a glass coffee table. I've just seen so many videos.
Over there. There's one right over there.
Well, and you've got how many dogs here?
Yeah, the dogs aren't really
I just saw a video the other day of a dog jumping a couch and front flipping onto a glass table and it exploding.
I've seen that video.
Yeah. So don't do that.
That's probably a popular TikTok video.
That's probably where I saw it.
I would guess that then gets reposted
By
every place. That is weird.
Every repost account.
Something
stuff like that.
works on one algorithm, it works on all algorithms.
Yeah.
It's really not that.
I was not an early adopter of VR. That's not even a space that I'm terribly excited about necessarily. I actually bought it, beginning of COVID, because I had some friends that were telling me, have you heard of Walkabout Mini Putt?
No.
It's just mini putt.
Right.
It's lovely. And they were telling me it's really fun. So a couple of friends and me, we just bought VR headsets and we would just hang out at night and you can just play live. You're basically on a mini putt course. Sometimes it's an island. Sometimes you're in space.
Cool.
And you're just a floating head and you just have a conversation. It's kind of like when I was in high school, I loved playing Frisbee, but just playing catch. I didn't play Ultimate. Just play catch. It facilitates a conversation, keeps your body engaged. That's what mini putt feels like. We would just talk about, sometimes we talked about it like videos we were working on. Sometimes we just talk about nothing and just play mini putt.
I love it. I think COVID had a weird effect where certain things, well, obviously a lot of stuff suffered, but certain things benefited.
Really flourished, yeah.
Yeah, like this idea, you think about this motivation to find some new format to interact with people, and everybody rapidly tried to figure out ways in which they were going to sustain relationships.
Yeah.
For you, it happened to be mini putt.
And yeah.
But for other people, they found some other thing or some other game.
Well, people were doing those like watch with me Netflix things or
Yes.
whatever. Or
Yes.
there was a lot of online board game parties. I was getting invited, like Zoom
It's funny
board
how,
game
it's
parties.
funny how you kind of need a thing, though. You can't just hang out, right? Like that Zoom stuff was just murder. To be stuck, like, I mean, there's a few times where family members, when it was real, when COVID was real, and family members want to get together on Zoom, and you're like, it's something missing. It's like this lag and this
it's awkward,
frozen, dead-looking creatures behind cameras. And you just don't want to do it at all. You'd rather not. So maybe the mini putt option.
Yeah, it'd be better if your whole family could get together in a mini putt game.
How do you look in what do you look like in the mini putt game?
You're just a floating like 8-bit head with a visor.
Right.
And then there's a floating mini putt wand.
So you're a pleasant looking thing.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not building a character or anything like that. You're not making a Fortnite version, whatever. I've never played Fortnite, but I think I know what it looks like.
I never heard of that game.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
I know.
That game took over my house for a period of time, and
I can imagine.
That's hyper addictive stuff as well. The Fortnite thing, and the skins, and man,
I've never really gotten into video games, largely because I know they would consume me. I have such an addictive personality. Anything I get into 100% of the way.
What's a recent strange obsession?
I mean, the past year I've been really into hi-fi audio, which has been great because actually what it does is now several nights a week, my wife and I we've got this great stereo set up. We'll just sit on the couch. We'll put on a nice album, and, snuggle up a little bit and just lose yourself in a beautiful album.
Look at you.
Yeah.
That's the classic way to be.
Yeah, well,
you're there.
The 50s.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a different type of engagement.
Yeah, we've actually been throwing like small listening parties at my house. So I have a couple friends where I tell them, if there's an album you're really excited about, if you want, we can have 4 people over. Wow. We're all vaccinated. We'll sit down and we'll just listen to the album. Maybe we'll have some drinks.
Are you checking vax at the door? Is that how that works?
I just know which of my friends are and aren't.
Right. I've been having to go to my kids play sports, so I have to go to a lot of arenas and stuff like that. And it's been very regimented. The entering of things and the documentation and the waivers and such.
Yeah.
It's a whole new...
I went to IKEA recently and I wanted some meatballs, and you got to do the whole passport thing and sign it on your phone.
What do you think about IKEA?
I like being at IKEA.
Is that right?
Yeah, I like walking through all the rooms. maybe it's the decision fatigue thing, or maybe it's an imagination thing. When I see a room and how it's laid out, I have a much easier time imagining whether or not a thing would work in my space. Also, I mean, it's also the blockbuster thing. I want to look at everything. I like going to IKEA and having 3 hours set apart. Like, I'm going to lay on a couch. That's pretty good. Move to the next room, pretend I'm cooking. I take my time. My wife, she's like, can we just go downstairs, please? She just wants to go into the...
Get the item.
Yeah, whatever that hall area is.
Right.
No, I like walking through the whole experience.
I mean, there's some tremendous psychology at play, the way they lay the thing out.
Yeah.
Whatever the maze, like that you're on a ride.
Yeah. Well, right. There's an inn and you follow a pathway. You don't really choose where you go. Maybe that's the TikTok thing that I like. It chooses like, well, now you're in living rooms.
You're on a ride.
Yeah.
And to get off the ride in IKEA is actually quite, like, they do not represent those fire exit routes, like the quick ways out. You can't really, they're not marketing those.
It's a horror film right there. If fire breaks out in an IKEA, everyone's just like, where do I go? We've been in the kitchens 9 times.
Absolutely. You nailed it. That's hot content right there.
Yeah. IKEA's done interesting content though.
We're actually doing a video. I don't know. Can I say that? I don't know. We're doing a video with IKEA. They launched a bunch of gaming peripherals. They're getting more into the game stream.
I saw gaming chairs there just last week.
They're getting into the game stream. They're partnering with gaming brands. Maybe he can bring it up. Bring it up, Will.
Bring it up.
Look at this. See, IKEA is tremendously successful.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Tremendously successful. And they're trying to take part in this thing that's going on right now.
Oh, my goodness. You see that hand?
That's the hand.
So, I mean, I was there with my producer, and we were just going around turning those into middle fingers. We thought it was funny. But the problem is you can put a hang loose, but it doesn't really look like a hang loose on that. Middle finger is the only thing that's obvious.
Middle finger doesn't mean the same thing everywhere.
And I had no idea it was a headphone stand. I was like, why are these wood hands everywhere?
You think it is a headphone stand, or could you?
It could be.
Could you put anything you want on it?
I mean,
what do they call it?
You can put a cup on there?
Accessory. They just say accessory stand. Look at this.
Yeah, it's an accessory stand. Do they have any other examples of things you might put on there?
No.
It's just the headphones.
It could be holding one of those 8 balls. You know, the magic.
The magic 8 ball.
Yeah, or a Rubik's cube.
I love desk toys.
You're the fidgeting.
Yeah, very fidgety.
You're into the fidgeting.
I've got an infinity cube. It's in my backpack right there. I use it while I drive.
Should we check it out?
You want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll get it.
We had a guest on here, Accessorize Me is his channel. His name's Vince. And he's all about the fidgeting. He said fidgeting and EDC is the same thing now, or at least there's a merging happening, because I suppose if you're really into the fidgeting, then it's got to be a part of your carry.
Yeah, I travel most places with this now, like when I can remember it. It's not like if I don't have it, I'm fine. I just find I watch a movie easier if I'm doing something with my hands. So basically all this is it's a metal cube, right? And it just kind of continually folds and unfolds forever.
So satisfying.
It's very satisfying. And so I just like drive and I use it in one hand and just kind of...
This is one of the better fidgets I've seen.
This is a fun thing. I do this with my daughter. We were doing this while we were camping. We'd play like, imagine 10 different shapes out of this. So she would look at it and she'd say, okay, this is binoculars. She'd hold her eyes. So it could be binoculars. It could be, this is a bed. You got it. Like, here's a picnic table.
It's like Minecraft.
Yeah, it's just fun to just stare at an inanimate object and see, using your imagination only, how many things could I pretend this is? And kids are so good at it because their whole life is pretending.
How does a guy like you end up with a thing like that?
The internet.
Just browsing around? Is it a suggestion? Did you see it in a video?
No, I had never heard of this. I think this was a suggestion. I might have just stumbled on this on Amazon, honestly. And
an
now,
Instagram ad?
It could have been, but I had never seen them before. And now I've showed it to people and they're like, oh, I had one of those when I was a kid. So I think this design has existed. This design of hinges to make a cube has existed.
Is it metal
for a while.
or plastic?
This one's metal. You want to see it?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll check that out. This is better than a Rubik's Cube because I don't have to solve it.
You don't have to solve it. You can't solve it. It just keeps going and going and going. And the more you use it, the better you get at kind of like doing it quickly.
What is it, magnets? Is there magnets in here?
No, it's just
no magnets.
a little aluminum cubes.
Oh, I was under the impression it was going to move anyway, but it
No, there are only a few ways that it goes. I wish it moved anyway with magnets. That would be fun.
Oh, I get it. Okay, cool. Then people can hear the satisfying click and clack of this particular.
I need to get some more silent ones, though, because I'm watching a movie with my wife. It's not a great thing to be doing.
So it's called an infinity cube.
Yeah, I think that's the name of it.
And
yeah,
you can get one on Amazon. That one doesn't look quite as good as yours.
Yeah, I don't remember how much it was.
Black silicone for $16. Yeah, it's interesting, this fine-tuning of the objects that are allowed to be around you.
In your peripheral, yeah.
Yeah, particularly the things that are very close to you, like close to your body. I remember reading something about our relationship with products and how the more intimate, the more meaningful, the closer that something is to you. If it's in your pocket, for example, versus like in your house.
Right.
Or if you're in it. But people have now been capable of fine-tuning, as I mentioned, what that list of things is.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, man, I struggle with this accumulation of things.
Absolutely.
And editing of things. And what do you do with things?
Yeah.
Where do things go when you no longer want them? You must have things you no longer want.
Yeah. I've never been motivated by money. And so one of the funner things in my job is like companies send things out and I just get to give them to people. That is wonderful. So I usually, especially in the more YouTube-y types of stuff that I get sent, a lot of companies like to send me gimbals.
What a weird problem to have.
It's very bizarre.
I got too many gimbals.
Well, I put out a video a couple years ago called like "Don't Buy a Gimbal" or something like that. And after that, every gimbal company's like, "You haven't tried ours, huh?
Right.
So maybe that's the one you should buy." And so they all just kept sending me them, and I was like, "They're fine. Okay, fine."
What was your peak gimbal number count? Gimbal count in your possession, on your person?
Probably like 5.
5 gimbals?
Yeah, probably. Now I think I have 1.5.
Do you like gimbals? Are you using them on a regular basis?
No, not on a regular basis. They slow me down.
Right.
If I have a planned out shot, and sometimes I do, I'm a very specific shot in mind I want to get, I'll brist it out. But otherwise, there's very few shots that I really feel like I need it for.
So you have a space, and your space is full of filmmaking gear.
Yeah.
But you're not a filmmaker.
Yeah. I share it with three other people. Yeah.
I see.
All close friends. So we all help each other out on projects.
I see. So it's kind of a collaborative.
Yeah, it's a collaborative space for sure.
I see.
And so our studio at some points has probably had 10 gimbals at the time. There's...
Gotcha.
Everyone has new gear coming in, going out, and sometimes other people's gear ends up at our studio, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, you're talking about this. Other people's gear?
Other people's gear, yeah.
There was something happen here delivering a lens. I watched this video.
Yeah, so Pete came over to the studio to deliver me a lens. He's like, "Do you have this?" And I was like, "Kinda." Like I actually gave it to a friend of mine for helping me on a video. He's like, "No, you didn't." I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I smashed your lens." So what do you mean you smashed my lens? And I guess Christoph, who's the guy's studio that I work out of, he had just borrowed it because he knows we kind of just share each other's gear. It's fine. He had borrowed the lens and he took it to help shoot this video with Peter, and I smashed it. And then when I guess he gave Christoph his lens to give back to me so I wouldn't know. So I was still using what I thought was my lens. And then Christoph took that lens to Zimbabwe. He's out there shooting like a docuseries. So he's like, "Can I have my lens back?" And I was like, "Well, I guess your lens is in Zimbabwe.
So you should just keep the one that you just brought me, and I'll wait for the one to come back from Zimbabwe."
I got to keep the new one.
Oh, okay, all right, that's even better. Yeah. You lucked out. What an unexpected turn of events. I guess it also, it turned into a video.
It did turn into a video.
You see? So you start like.
I mean, that's a weird thing on YouTube is how often you're like, "I could make a video out of this." That laser helmet thing, where it's going bald, perfect example. I would not have purchased that if I didn't think I could make a video out of it, because that thing was it was like $2,500 or something like that. And that I think was US dollars. But I'm like, well, I could put it in a video. I could have a brand deal segment in it that already covers the cost of the helmet. And ta-da.
I could make a video.
The video kind of flopped, but
you're not happy with the results. How much do you care about that? Are you a big analytics guy? No.
I don't understand analytics. I get so bored when I look at the page. I'm like, I can't look at these graphs for another second. And I bail. I know in general what an average video for me, and I know what goes higher, and I know what goes lower, and I have awareness of what topics I could do that would do better or do worse. But it really doesn't motivate me all that much.
Are you interested in projects outside of YouTube? What is a project that you would love to do in the future, or that you are actually
I've got a few shifts happening, because when I mentioned I was doing these tutorials, most of them were coming out of the videos I had made, and now I'm feeling like I taught you all the stuff that I feel like I know well enough that I have some sort of authority to speak on, right? And I'm not going to make tutorials on things I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I know things. So I want to make a shift. And there's two things that I'm doing. One is I've been workshopping a series where, I don't know what it's going to be called, where I just take up new hobbies and try and get really into them.
Oh, this is, who's the guy? Who's the guy who does that?
Well, I know what's his name in the UK, the Learn Quick. Mike, oh my gosh, I feel bad I'm forgetting his name.
Like, Will, you showed me this guy.
Oh, I don't want to find out if this is a channel.
Isn't there?
There probably is.
No, by the way, I'm not saying that.
No, don't worry. No,
I didn't mean it like that. No, whenever you have a format that works, there's no one person that can do all the versions of it.
Yeah. Oh, of course. But also, I mean, my fear is I don't want to find the channel doing it. Because it'll stop me from doing my own, or I'll copy it.
No. But the concept is not. No one invented the concept.
No. And there's also no new ideas. Yes. I've never had an idea that I went, that's great, and I Googled it and didn't find it existing already.
Exactly.
So I'm not terribly worried about it.
I was just trying to give the guy a shout out because actually I've watched a couple of those videos.
No, don't veer attention outside of here.
No?
No, it's fine. I actually probably would want to look into it. So there's that. I kind of want to take up some hobbies.
For the record, I think what I like about that concept is that it's not about the video. The video, it's kind of like this show here, where I would like to meet you. I would like to chat with you regardless of microphones and cameras. Right. And that's what I like. I like ideas that operate in a similar fashion. Here, you're going to learn a skill.
Yeah.
Regardless. You're going to extract, as opposed to just point and shoot, or try to structure your own experience in a fashion that would be good for content, as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
Where the content is peripheral, where it's more sort of along for the ride.
And I mentioned earlier, I just get into hobbies, and it's a thing I do enjoy. So I like being able to do that, and with a purpose. But the other thing that I like is every one of those videos, in theory, opens me up to an entirely new audience that isn't interested in the filmmaking. Maybe they're interested in whatever hobby that is at the time, right? Because every hobby has an enormous subculture on YouTube. We want to do one on metal detecting because I just think that's fascinating.
Will this stuff go on your main channel, or is this another channel?
Probably, yeah.
Okay,
it probably
goes
on
on
my
the
main
channel.
Because I've honestly, the views on my channel, I have a ballpark idea of like almost no matter what I make, this many people will watch it. Which is fun. Like, those are the people that sign up for personality, not necessarily just the information, not necessarily just what I'm teaching you, but how I'm teaching it, which is flattering. But I think at least most of those people would watch these. But then there's the potential of an entirely new audience to then also become part of that I'll watch anything you do audience. So I want to do one on fashion. Don't understand it, but I also, it gives me an opportunity to not be in front of the camera all the time. So I can actually turn the camera around and be focused on the person, like hopefully a single person in each scenario who is an authority or is really down the rabbit hole of that hobby.
So you take fashion as a topic. That seems very vast.
It's huge.
So where is the entry point, or what is this, a 10-minute video? 10-minute video on fashion?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, see,
I don't know yet. I mean, this is partly why I'm so excited.
Could be a 26-minute video.
Yeah, it might be, because the other thing that I'm working on is I've been documenting this whole ADHD process for myself for the past year, of like from getting diagnosed to different doctor's visits. We've been on 4 different medications, and like it's been up, down. It's been a whole roller coaster.
This is a recent development.
Yeah, but over COVID, anyways. I got officially diagnosed. Yeah.
So COVID, was COVID the kick, the push to actually pursue treatment?
It was time for me to really examine myself. It was time for me to like look inwards and not be distracted by like social events and all the other things, because I realized some of these things that I struggle with personally and professionally aren't just a result of I'm overworked or there's too many things happening. So it's like, oh, even when it's just me and I have full control, there are these similar like traps that I'll fall into. And this will probably be part of that video, but I've said since I was in high school, like I probably have ADHD. I just assumed I did, but I always said like, I don't know how having a doctor tell me that would help me in any capacity. I was wrong, by the way. And the way in which I was wrong was I didn't know what it was. I really didn't understand it. I don't know if you relate to this. When I was a kid, ADHD, what I thought was those kids are too hyper and they need a pill to calm them down.
That's a weird word. I totally recall that word.
Hyper.
Yeah. Oh, he's hyper.
Yeah.
It would be a type of label of sorts, but it was not very descriptive. It was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So, and I wasn't even like a super hyper kid necessarily, but it turns out there's like 7 different types of ADHD, and I have combined type and all this stuff. But the medication part of it hasn't been super helpful for me, which is fine. But the part that's been helpful is actually learning about what that type of like brain looks like and what kind of things they almost always struggle with or often struggle with, seeing them in my own life, and then being able to learn from other people. Like, these are some tactics that I use to help me with that. So things like object permanence or transition time. So object permanence is basically like out of sight, out of mind. It's a thing we all relate to, right? Most people with ADHD have that to an extreme degree. So it's why most people have a really messy desk, because as soon as those things are gone, functionally they don't exist to your brain. There's not like a background part of your brain that knows like, oh, that's where the thing is. The other way that this is affected is if I put an object in the fridge, let's say, I'll remember exactly where I put it. If you turn it 90 degrees, I no longer see it. So if my wife then puts it back, she'll see me stay in the fridge. I'm like, we're out of milk. She's like, it's right there. I'm like, I'm looking everywhere. But the problem is your visual systems are referencing other, like the part of your brain that is saying like, I know where I put it. It was right here. And if it is not there, it does not exist. Oh, it's weird. But it's a thing.
How does she respond to that?
I don't know. She's just always thought I was blind, and she's legally blind.
So she's humorous about it. It never causes any. Sure. There's no friction because of it.
She's my favorite person in the world, like by a mile. I get sick of everyone within a certain amount of time.
Right.
I've never gotten sick of being around her.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very thankful for that. But so there's little things like that I've had my whole life, or like losing things constantly and like putting things away and not being able to find them, or keeping all my stuff in my peripheral. And I didn't know that had anything to do with the part of me that's like, I probably have ADHD. Ha 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 ha. So then when I discovered there are so many other avenues of my life that are affected by it in ways that I was unaware, I'm now so much more able to deal with them. So one of them is like getting my sleep under control. I've just realized that that's another like very common issue that people with ADHD have, is not being able to self-regulate and get themselves to actually sleep, because you can't turn your mind off. They race above average. And
what would be going through your mind that would be keeping you awake?
Everything simultaneously, all at once. So like I'll lay in bed and I'll have 3 to 5 songs stuck in my head simultaneously. which doesn't sound good. They're just all kind of going. Plus, I'll be thinking about future projects. Plus, I'll be like all these things that do not need to be thought about. I'm not solving. I'm not intentionally thinking about them. They're just on.
Can't put it down.
Yeah. And when I found out those things, like, oh, that's not what most people experience when they lay down to go to sleep. You know what I found out the other day? My wife has a full apartment in her mind that she's designed. So when she lays down to go to bed, she just imagines going to this very peaceful apartment that she's designed over time.
Not a bad idea.
And helps herself go to sleep. I was like, what? My brain's like, and that it's horrible. So again, learning about these things has helped me discover, oh, I actually probably need a much larger buffer time to get myself ready for sleep than most people do, which was helpful. So now I'm like, it's been a while now, but no screens after 9 p.m., things like that, things that everyone benefits from have actually helped me to take some of these things under control. So the medication, take it or leave it. Some people actually do need it. I'm not sure if I do.
What kind of effects do you notice? Is there any downside?
Yeah, the problem is the downside. So I've been on 4 different medications. I just started a new one last week, and that's why I have to wake up at 4:45 because the first few days I was taking it at 7 a.m. and I'd do my whole bedtime routine, and I'd take a bath or something, and I'd read a book, like everything right, no screens. Between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m., laying in bed, tossing and turning, just brain so fast because it's a stimulant medication. It's kind of like it's like having long-term caffeine in your system.
Seems like an odd treatment when things are already seemingly rapid.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a pretty dumbed-down way to look at it is most people with ADHD have a much lower baseline of dopamine. And because we have a lower baseline of dopamine, that hyperactivity is actually saying your body, it's like it's thirsty for that neurochemical. And it's like, feed me, give me a screen, give me a video game, give me something because I'm so thirsty.
Give me TikTok.
Give me TikTok. It's extra addictive because I want that dopamine because it's something I'm low on. So a lot of these stimulant medications, what they do is they actually pull your dopamine up to what is more like a normal baseline for people, so that your brain actually no longer needs to be like thinking about everything, looking at everything, trying to like get that kick from somewhere. The problem is though, it can keep you up at night.
So it's like your baseline. There's the positive element is that the baseline goes up, but then you don't
necessarily get to control
down. There's no
when calm. It comes up.
Well,
for a lot of people, the problem is when it does calm down, you crash. And that can be really bad for some people. And I had that with some of them, but this more recent one is a very gentle medication, but the problem is it lasts really long for me.
It's such a wild thing to imagine. I mean, there's so many factors and individual aspects of the way in which a person is interacting with these medications. And I mean, you hear about it, but it is this kind of thing where there's an experimentation to it. Like, well, let's see how you respond to this. And then you have, of course, being monitored the whole time by a doctor.
I met with psychiatrists. I had a psychologist I was meeting for a little while. We were going for walks together to kind of like sort through some of this stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
You stopped doing that?
Yeah, I realized him and I weren't such a great fit.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did it take to figure that out?
We were meeting every other week for a couple months. So we probably met, 5 or 6 times. And what was kind of nice is it seemed like he sensed it maybe because at the end he was like, so do you want to put another one on the books or do you think we'll just call it for now? And I was like, I think we'll just call it for now.
Interesting.
This is helpful. So it's not that I would say he was bad at his job by any means. I just felt like there was a conversational disconnect where it was no longer feeling helpful for me. The truth is I probably just need like a better therapist rather than whatever he was. I don't even know what he was. He was a psychologist, I know that, but I reached out to 4 different people.
I think you can call that a therapist. I think that crosses over.
Yeah, but there's so many different types.
Right.
He was just the only one that responded to my email. So I was like, I choose you.
So right now you don't have one at all. There's no talking happening at all.
I mean, I have like my wife and I have a few good friends, but no, there's no set professional that I'm speaking with.
Interesting. I mean, everybody finds their own way. Some people find that very helpful. So,
I absolutely. I'm 100% on board. In fact, if I would stop procrastinating on it, I would have a new therapist already.
Now, if you did get a therapist, does it have to be in real life, or can you do it online?
Yeah, I just don't want to do it online.
Yeah.
Is my thing. I don't want another Zoom call in my life. I don't want another FaceTime. I'm just more at ease. Like it's so good we're doing this in person. I've done enough podcasts over the phone, and they're not the same.
I actually don't even see the point personally. I mean, every so often we have to accommodate certain situations, but there is so much nuance in conversation. Small little micro things that are happening, and latency plays such a big role. When do you start, stop, go?
Kills a conversation so fast.
So yeah, I'm in full appreciation of the idea of doing things in real life, talking to people in real life, so much so that I would say I neglect a lot of my accommodation for alternative means of interaction. But so many people have done the opposite in the past year or past 2 years, where things have increasingly gone online. My kids had to do the school online. They were dying. They were dying in front of me. They couldn't do it. They're just sitting there slumped over.
My daughter tried to do junior kindergarten on Zoom. Could you imagine? It's so impossible. You can't make a 4-year-old sit on an iPad and pay attention.
People were trying to do whatever they could do.
Yeah, trying their best.
You appreciate it, because I know it was hell for those teachers too.
Oh my goodness.
You can imagine being on that side of it, trying to entertain 18 faces on the other side of a screen.
Yeah. And they're all trying to make viral TikTok videos of their Zoom classes and stuff like that. And not the kindergartners, but
who knows, eventually.
Eventually.
This thing is addictive in a good way. Yeah, I'm more relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm buying one. I'm going to keep one over here.
Wish I had a fidget spinner.
I'm going to give, maybe we should have, this is what we should have, Will, like a shelf or a table of a variety of interesting objects like this. And people could just pick one up because weirdly, I feel like it enhanced some element.
Yeah, it's something nice to just focus
and
your
I don't
energy.
like a lot of those other ones. I don't like this one. I like cubes.
I like cubes also.
I've
got a small cube collection.
Sharp angles.
Yeah.
And structure feels structural in a way.
Yeah, it feels good.
Thank you for introducing me to that, and thank you for coming here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great.
Yes, this has been a pleasure. It's been a joy.
It has been a joy.
It has been a real thing that happened in real life, and we just so happened to have cameras here. We didn't do it because the cameras are here. We just so happen to have the cameras here.
Now we get to vibe.
Yeah, now Willie do gets his moment to shine. This coffee came in handy too. Wow, everything just went off without a hitch. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.